Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Hear What I'm Saying, the podcast where beauty, entrepreneurship, and life lessons meet. I'm your host, Kenitra, and today's episode is truly special. I'm sitting down with an extraordinary woman, Kameese Davis, the founder of Nyla's Naturals, a brand that's not only redefining natural hair care, but was born from the love of a mother for her daughter. Kameese's journey, rooted in family, science, and sheer determination, has led her to become a trailblazer in the beauty industry. We'll dive into her experiences as a mom, her bold moves in entrepreneurship, and the personal moments with her daughter, Nyla, that have shaped her purpose. So whether you're a natural hair enthusiast, a budding entrepreneur, or someone looking for a dose of inspiration, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Hear What I'm Saying podcast. I'm your host, Kenitra Stewart, and today we have Kameese of Nyla's Naturals all the way from the UK joining us. How are you, Kameese?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being a
Good.
guest on the show. I really do appreciate it. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you for having me. Thank you. It's an
Absolutely.
honor.
Is this your first podcast?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
You like,
I've
no,
done
I'm a
several.
pro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a pro. Well, that's good to know. At least you know the feeling of how it goes and flows. So, you'll
Yeah.
become a natural more than anything.
Yeah, just good, honest, open conversation. That's what I'm all
Absolutely.
about.
For sure. Okay, so we'll just get started if you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
ready.
Your daughter, Nyla, inspired this incredible brand. Can you share the story of her hair care journey and how it sparked your mission to redefine textured hair care?
Yeah, of course. So when my daughter was born, she had seborrheic dermatitis, which is a type of eczema that sits on the scalp, and it manifests in like really large scales, a lot of dandruff, a lot of significant itching. And I was searching for a natural plant-based product that wouldn't aggravate the symptoms of her eczema. So while I found it relatively easy to find skincare products that were natural and plant-based, I really struggled to find a hair care product, especially being in the UK, for textured hair, afro hair that didn't have any of the raw materials that would typically aggravate her skin condition. So I started to do a lot of research and I realized a couple of things, right? So one of the first things that really shocked me was understanding the prevalence of harmful ingredients that were present in products marketed to Black women. This was something I hadn't looked in before
Mm-hmm.
into, but knowing that I really wanted to alleviate my daughter's symptoms, I became ingredient conscious and I really started to deep dive into like, what does this name mean? What is this word and what does it mean at the back of a label? And I was horrified. So now it not only became about wanting to have a natural product, it was a necessity. Like I needed a product that didn't contain any of these harmful ingredients that with long-term use could lead to some of the health complications that we're seeing in Black women today. And I think the second thing was about racial esteem and really wanting my daughter to not have to undergo a process of unlearning. And I'll expand on that. So, growing up as a child, I was always taught that straighter hair was more desirable, was beautiful, was more in line with what the definition of Eurocentric ideologies for beauty was.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want my daughter to have to unlearn that process. I just wanted her to know, like, your hair, the way it grows out of your head is absolutely beautiful and there's
For
nothing
sure.
wrong with it. So I wanted her to have that pride from an early age because I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it now became, the need became something that would celebrate my daughter's heritage and her hair, and then something that was non-toxic. And that was really the foundations for starting this business because I realized that in the UK there wasn't anything. There was several options in the US, and in fact
Yes.
I initially started to import things in. So, like Carol's Daughter and other brands, I
Mm-hmm.
started to import them in, but it became unsustainable because there's like the cost of the product, the cost of shipping, the cost of customs, the lead time. I was like, yeah, this can't work. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll just create it. And in a nutshell, that's what inspired the brand.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love how you elaborate the depth of your why. And it's so inspiring. You know, I don't know many children who are born with seborrheic dermatitis. I usually see it more in adults behind the chair. So
Yeah,
I really love how you took that and you made something work with that for you and your daughter, and then also expanded that to the world. You know, it's a
yeah,
very inspiring story. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be like something dealing with you and your daughter personally, you know, which I'm
right.
sure it was, you know, and but it was like a medical concern more than anything, you know, opposed to
Yeah,
the stories that I normally hear. I normally
yeah,
hear um you know, her hair just the products that were, you know, on the market, they were harmful. And also her curls or her texture, the porosity, the density, it just did not gravitate to those products. So I had to do something for us. And I know that
yeah.
there are other Black women out here also struggling with the same concerns. So I made this product also for them as well. But to learn that it started with a medical condition, I'm like, whoa, that I was not expecting that, you know? So that's really good to know and to hear. And I really love how you just channeled into that and you made that work for you and your daughter. So that product, it does, you know, did it help with her scalp condition, or did you have to still seek outside sources in order to help her?
So that, yeah, I love that question. So one of the things that I learned really early on in the process of developing products was that I needed to incorporate the knowledge of specialists within the whole formulation process, because it's all good and well saying, I want to develop a product, but I am not a cosmetic scientist, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
I am just using my basic understanding of the perhaps nutrient raw materials that I want to include in a product, but not understanding how those products work in synergy with one another and how they work to maximize efficacy. And
Mm-hmm.
another thing that was really important to me was looking at skinification. So,
Mm-hmm.
how do we ensure that the skin and health of the scalp is in an optimal condition? And that's taking into consideration things like an understanding of how melasthesia infects the acid mantile, understanding the importance of pH balance, looking at what are the surfactants that are needed to cleanse the scalp without stripping the hair of its natural oils and nutrients. And in order to do that, there was, I needed to involve a cosmetic scientist, I needed to involve a trichologist, and I also worked with a dermatologist. So ultimately, we developed a formulation that was mild enough not to aggravate her condition, and
Mm-hmm.
also, you know, designed in a way that would showcase the beauty of her hair, so keep her hair in the optimum condition and keep her scalp in
Right.
the optimum condition.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I didn't create a medicated product that would resolve the seborrheic dermatitis, what it did was give me a product that wouldn't aggravate it.
Absolutely, because that's the challenge, right? The
Yeah,
challenge is finding
yeah,
the products that don't it that it's because sometimes the flare-ups are happening because of the products, the ingredients that are in the products. So the
exactly.
intention behind the hair product is very admirable. You know,
Yeah,
even though like you said it's not a cure, but it's a very mild product so that it doesn't continue to flare up the condition for anyone that wants to experience your hair products. That's
yeah.
amazing. As a mom, what challenges did you face when caring for Nyla's hair, and how did that shape your approach to creating your products? I guess you kind of already covered that, but if you have
Yeah.
more to elaborate, we would love to hear.
I think just one of the challenges, and I'm really careful, I think, with how I phrase caring for my daughter's hair. So, instead of challenges, I would say one of the areas that I needed to learn and improve
Mm-hmm.
upon was getting her to understand how to care for her hair, especially as she's older now, like she's 14 now.
Oh my
And
goodness. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that she naturally wants to do with her hair in terms of the versatility of it and wearing it in different styles. And
Mhm.
it's without hindering her creative expression and her personal expression,
Mhm.
still trying to reinforce the importance of using mechanical styling choices that are not going to harm her hair. So I think that's one of the challenges at the moment. It's finding that balance.
Yes.
And I suppose as she's been growing up, I know Afro hair. I'm quite obsessive. Like I have a really weird obsessive personality disorder. And when when I'm
Mhm.
interested by a topic, whatever it might be, I become quite fixated on it. And
Mhm.
so during that process, I really deep dive into understanding the needs of Afro textured hair. So caring for it wasn't really a challenge for me.
Good.
It was just more about ensuring she understands it. That it's now become
Mhm.
a challenge. Yeah.
Okay. And how is that journey so far? Is she learning? Do you feel like she's receiving the information that you are educating her on about her hair?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love to see is that she
Mhm.
loves it, right? First and
Good.
foremost, she
Mhm.
loves her hair. And watching that as a mom is a very surreal and beautiful experience because
Mhm.
the way in which she wears her hair with pride at her young age, in its afro, in its full force and beauty, is a
Mhm.
way that I never did
Yeah.
until I got to like my mid 20s. I wouldn't wear my hair in that way. I thought the definition of beautiful was trying to manipulate my hair into something that it just was not. And so seeing her have that pride and knowing that that is because of what I've poured into her is a beautiful feeling. And
Mhm.
that is something else that I do with my brand. So we teach like foster carers, we teach adoptive parents, we teach social
Oh, I love
workers,
that.
and really look at how we can um, integrate into the children's care sector to ensure that
Mhm.
all children have the same standard of care despite whatever transracial home they might be in. I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK, we don't have enough Black carers. And as a result of that, many children are placed in homes where the adults don't understand their personal care
Mhm.
needs.
Yeah.
And I'm like on a mission to ensure that every child appreciates their hair type and
Mhm.
every child has the opportunity to understand its diverse beauty, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It does. It makes perfect sense. I do see a wave of that happening now, where you do
Mm.
see the younger Black young girls, they are growing up appreciating their natural coils and they are
Yeah.
trying to learn how to care for them. There is a salon out here in Austin, Texas, where I don't know how often she gathers a group of Black little girls and she teach them how to do their hair.
Okay.
Yeah, the salon is called the 2911. And
That's awesome.
yeah, she does a
Brilliant.
lot of things for the community.
One girl.
But speaking on what you just said, just
Yeah.
piggybacking on that, that's what she does. That's what she do.
Yeah.
I didn't have that experience growing up, but I did grow up with a lot of family members that they didn't intentionally you know, tell me, how we're having to coach our daughters today. They didn't intentionally
Yeah.
coach me. I just so happened to be blessed to grow up with a bunch of Black women in my family that just knew how to take care of curly hair.
Nice.
And so
That's
there was
amazing.
no need to like go get a
Yeah.
relaxer. It was actually talked against at my age,
Eh?
growing up. Yeah.
That's
I
amazing
grew
and so uncommon
Yeah,
as
I grew
well.
up like my aunts, my grandmother, they were on
Yeah.
I was the one pressing for the relaxer. And they were like, no,
Right.
no, you're
No.
not getting a relaxer. And I think I asked so much that my mom just folded and she just
Yeah.
gave in and she gave me the relaxer. And the whole family, they were not happy about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the same thing with my sister. So we didn't grow up. So when I hear these stories, I'm always intrigued because where I grew up, it wasn't the same experience for even my friends. We didn't grow up like that.
Yeah.
The relaxer was merely by choice. It wasn't to adjust to the European, beauty at all. So I'm always
Yeah.
intrigued whenever I hear,
That's interesting. I've never heard
hmm
that because, we've all heard of colorism and
yeah,
the implications that colorism has had on
yes.
how we see ourselves as Black people and Black women, right? But
Yeah.
I think another layer to that is texturism,
Yeah, texturism. Yeah.
and
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And the looser your curl type, for example, the
Absolutely.
more beautiful your hair is seen to be. So it's amazing to hear that you were in a family and an environment that didn't push that narrative.
Yes, I was,
Yeah,
but I will say I did grow up around friends that did hear that, the texturism part,
right.
but not having to, but not deemed as straighter is more beautiful. It's just that the looser the texture was, it was more beautiful.
More beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So I did grow up around that for sure. That narrative. I did. The looser the
yeah.
texture, the softer the curl
The
pattern
softer the
appeared to be,
curl. Yeah,
the more
yeah.
kinky, it was deemed nappy, unruly,
Exactly, right.
unmanageable. And I grew up in that space. Yes, for
Wild,
sure.
difficult, all of that kind of negative
Mm-hmm.
derogatory terms. And I think what's even more challenging is we're still seeing that today, right? We're
Absolutely.
still seeing brands favor women with looser hair types to push their products as opposed to working diversely with all
Mm-hmm.
textures and all hair types and all hair lengths. I think we went into, when we're talking about the natural hair movement, we went into a phase where you in order to have textured hair, it had to be looser,
Mm-hmm.
um, coilier hair that was more okay, closer to people who were of dual heritage or closer
Yes.
to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, most
Absolutely.
Eurocentric standards of what a suitable curl would be. And anyone who had really tight, kinky, textured hair, it better be long for us to see it as
Appreciate
right?
it.
If it wasn't long, then we're not going to
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it as something that we can still actively promote. And the fact is, I mean, I might use that might come for me, but the fact is that we don't have the same anagen phase as people from other racial groups. So the likelihood of
Mm-hmm.
us growing tailbone length hair, whatever is its texture, isn't as likely as someone from a different racial group. And that
Absolutely.
kind of reinforces the importance of celebrating not only all textures, but all densities and all lengths, and stop trying to push this narrative that Afro hair is only beautiful if it comes in this certain package in this way.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I'm so happy you brought up the texturism part because if you wouldn't have, I wouldn't even thought about it. So I'm so
Yeah,
happy you brought that up because I'm like, yeah, we did experience that. That one we
yeah,
experienced for sure. Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. And I appreciate you for bringing that up because the other one I didn't experience, but that one for sure. Um, direct, immediate family too, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely experienced that. And that
And
comes
I
with
would also, sorry, carry on.
no, and I was just gonna say, and it comes with it comes with its own psychological challenges as you grow up. Maybe I don't want to alter it, make it straight, but I
Mm.
I am longing for a looser curl
A
pattern.
loose cow. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Do you have any special hair care moments that stand out as defining memories between you and your daughter?
Um, I don't think I have a specific moment. But
Mhm.
what I do, and have always done with my daughter's hair, is create a ritual of us really being able to spend quality time together and really making sure that the hair caring process was a time for us to bond.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
just as mother and daughter, but really rooting that in culture and rooting that in an understanding of who we are as, a Black woman and then a young girl that's developing into a Black woman.
Yeah.
Because as I said, everything that I try and do with my daughter is trying to reinforce that racial esteem because I really do think that's the foundation of self-esteem. I really do. And that is being proud of the racial group in which you belong,
Yes.
understanding our heritage, our history, our contributions to society, and our unique and very beautiful
Mhm.
racial characteristics. So I created space for that in caring for her hair. I remember the process of me getting my hair done wasn't always one that was, desirable. I remember getting chopped with the comb and hair tugged and told how difficult my hair is and
Mm.
how hard it is to manage and how nappy it is. And that created, or perhaps reinforced the belief that my hair wasn't good enough. So for my daughter, I just wanted to really flip that on its head and completely change the narrative. And I think that's contributed to her sense of pride in her appearance that she has now. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do with my daughter. And we've also created some resources as a brand to help to kind of promote that type of practice for moms with daughters. So we have a children's storybook, we have children's
Oh.
activity book, and we have a hair guide for moms to really say, the process of caring for your daughter's hair is rooted in history and rooted in bonding. And it's really important to carve the time out, really carve that time out to enjoy the process. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was not like that when we were growing up. It was
Girl,
not
it was
like that.
not.
It was traumatizing, more than
Yeah.
anything, which is why we had such a an unhealthy attachment to it.
Yes.
It was, even though, we were embraced to wear our natural curls, the process was not a bonding moment.
Mm-mm. And girl, I don't know about you, but my family are Jamaican, right? So
OMG. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that one came out, the hot comb came out, the
Yeah.
crease came out. It was a painful and traumatizing process.
It sure
And then I
was.
think also like our hair care practices were just flawed. Like looking back at some of the things that my mom and grandmother would promote as like standard ways to care for your hair. It's no wonder we never had no hair. Do you know what I mean? Because we just didn't know how to promote that length retention,
Yeah.
moisturizing, cleaning the scalp.
Yep.
Things that we didn't do. And now that we have the information and the knowledge is prevalent, there's a lot of crap. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of crap on the internet. Some of it
Mm.
infuriates me, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But I think when you weave through that, you can find some really good information for just loving your hair and caring for it in the right way.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
completely agree with you for sure. And thank you for sharing and elaborating on that. That was good information for even myself to hear. So I love that. All righty. So we're going to move on to talking about motherhood and entrepreneurship.
Ooh,
Yeah.
girl. I still don't know what I'm doing. Girl.
I know. It's a journey. I think it's going to be one of those everlasting journeys,
Mhm, mhm.
Balancing motherhood with entrepreneurship can be demanding. How has Nyla's presence influenced your work ethic and your drive to succeed?
So firstly, I would say I have two children.
Oh,
My
okay.
son, bless him, don't get no attention because he has no business named after him. But I also have a son who's 8.
Okay.
Um, and I would say that my children are one of my biggest, not the only biggest drivers, but definitely one of the key pillars for my commitment and
Mhm.
discipline. Right? It's great to say motivation, but to be honest with you, my motivation wanes from day to day. Like some days me can't bother, right? And then other days I'm good to go. So it's
Yeah,
like
discipline is way more
the
important than
discipline
motivation.
of committing to doing the best I can every day is definitely rooted in me wanting to be an example to my children of what being a business leader and a business person looks like, and being an example to my children of following things through,
Mm,
and doing the best that you can every day. So there's been times when I've wanted to walk away with it from it all. Like
mm,
I can't lie to you. There's been times where it's been really tough. I've had challenges. I'm dealing with other people in business that are making my life way harder than it needs to be.
mm,
And it can be exhausting.
mhm,
Um, and I feel to myself, you know what? I can have soft life right now. My partner's an entrepreneur. He can care for me. I don't have to do this. But I think one, her name is the brand. And that's really important to me, that she sees how far we can take it. And,
Mm-hmm.
number two, it's being that living example for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I keep saying I love everything you say, but it's just so good. Oh my goodness. What does it mean for you to create products that not only help Nyla embrace her natural beauty, but also inspire confidence in other young girls and women?
Oh, oh God, I'm a crier, so I'm holding myself
Good.
now because of
I've
this
cried on the
side.
podcast, so if you have to cry, it's okay. I've cried
That
on
one
it.
really hit me. People often ask me, like, what are your proudest moments? And I guess the expectation is, having this much turnover, or, getting listed in the UK's biggest retailers, or, awards and accolades. And it really isn't. Like, some of my proudest moments, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, um, are when parents send me emails to say, like, your products have done this for my family and
Mm.
my daughter. Like, I had a mum, I'll give you an example. I had a mum who was a European from Ireland, and she had married a Ghanaian, and they had a mixed race daughter. And she just didn't know. She just didn't know how to care for her daughter's hair at all.
Mm.
And she sent us a message on Instagram out of desperation. And I happened to see it because we've obviously got a team that support with social media. And I happened to see this message, and I immediately reached out and I was like, can we have a call? And we had a call, and we had a conversation about the challenges her daughter was experiencing with her hair. Her daughter saying that she wishes she had hair like her mum. She hates the fact that she's biracial. She hates the black side of her, all rooted in the fact that her hair was, knotted, and mom just didn't understand how to showcase its beauty. And so I sent her some products completely free of charge. I taught her through the process. And then she emailed me back and she was just like, here's the before and after. Look at my daughter's smile. She's now saying how proud she is of having like two parents from different ethnicities. And to know that I contributed to that little girl's sense of pride and self esteem. Like, it's a really meaningful thing for me. I'm sorry, I'm crying, but it's
Girl,
so
I'm
deep.
trying to hold back.
And she's not
Yes.
the only one. Like, I have messages from other mothers. I have messages from women in their 60s. One woman said to me, she sent a message on social media and she said, I'm 68 years old, and this is the first time in my life that I've used a product that showed how beautiful my hair is. That, for me, if anyone tells me why success to you, that is success to me. Like, it's probably not the typical version of success, but it does mean to me that I've created something that is successful
Yeah.
and that is appreciated and that I'm making changes. So yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
so sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just fighting them back. That was beautiful. And that's the most meaningful success. That's the success you cannot buy. That's a
Yeah,
success that is extremely hard to achieve. There are
yeah,
so many other ways to, achieve, even when you first started the journey, I'm sure you didn't even know what you were going to do. And in that moment, it was just about, finding a solution for your daughter and then
yeah,
taking that and knowing I can help other people, but not knowing, oh, I'm going to help them internally too, not just
yeah,
from the external aspect of it all, but also emotionally so that they can have healthier relationships with themselves and accept themselves for exactly who they are. And
yeah,
that's
exactly.
empowering to be able to place a stamp like that so deep on someone's
Yeah,
soul, 68
absolutely.
years old, that's a long time to find a solution for your hair care.
Right. It's a
Yeah.
long time to be existing in a mindset that tells yourself that all of you is not good enough. And knowing that my brand, my creation, my contribution to the world, whatever it evolves into, it's
Mm-hmm.
already done that.
Yeah.
And I think for when I think about the vision of the brand, like we really want to look at how we can bridge the gap between the wellness space
Mm-hmm.
and the cosmetic space for Black women.
For
Like,
sure.
how can we champion wellness, well being, and personal care and personal pride for Black women in the products that we are creating for Black
Yes.
women? That is our goal.
Absolutely. And you're doing it. You know, you're doing it. I'm just happy now my listeners will have exposure to your product as well. You know, it deserves a platform for sure everywhere. And I really hope, this, what you're doing, I want it to be this worldwide, internationally, nationally known because of where it's deeply rooted in. You didn't jump in a beauty business to make money. That is a part of the goal. You have to, in order to take care of your family, that is
Exactly.
part of it. But the goal that you've reached is much bigger, you know, and it deserves to be known. People need to be tapped in to, what's going on with you so that they can also have you know, just the privilege of knowing, there is help out there for you because we're still trying to figure it out, We're still trying to figure it out. There's still, so many people, so many beauty brands, so many celebrities are entering into the beauty world, but not with this purpose. Not with this
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah.
I mean, it's an attractive market, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's worth billions and it's
Absolutely.
growing. It's got a compound annual growth rate that is insane when
Mm-hmm.
compared against other markets. But for me, it was never about how rich can this make me. If I wanted to look at, something that would get us there quicker, there's other vehicles for that.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I think my sense of purpose is how can I contribute to the Black woman's self-esteem
And
and
that's what
wellness?
I hear. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I hear. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So we're going to talk more about your passion and your business, like how you grew that from a passion to your business.
Yeah.
What motivated you to turn your personal experiences into a thriving business while managing so many roles in your life? I guess you've answered it, but if you have more, we always want to know more. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to you about like our brand elasticity,
mhm.
and I suppose why wellness is now a integral focus for us. So I was diagnosed, Sod's law is a thing, right? I was diagnosed with a type of alopecia, which is really progressive and aggressive. It's called CCCA. And it starts at the center of your head and it causes scarring and it expands out and it's progressive. And a lot of times when women receive the diagnosis of CCCA, it's so late in their journey that the scarring has damaged the follicles and the likelihood and the prognosis of regrowing hair is like literally 0.5%. It's like it's ridiculously small. In fact, the likelihood is you'll never grow hair again in that
Mm.
space where there's scarring. And I was diagnosed with that whilst having a hair care brand. And it was devastating because I'm losing my hair and then I'm having to mask it, camouflage it, hide it. Because having a hair care brand and having hair loss doesn't go hand in hand. And then I remember having like just, a vulnerable moment. As you guys can see, I'm a crier. But having a vulnerable moment with my partner, and he said to me, turn that pain into purpose. He was like, you know hair, um, you understand trichology, you know the people to tap into, like what can you do and what can you create for Black women who are going through something similar to you. And then in that process of, going to see dermatologists, getting an official diagnosis, I then started to look at, okay, what are the raw materials that I can start to incorporate in a system and a formula to help to combat the CCA that I'm experiencing in two meaningful ways. The first way is controlling the inflammation so it doesn't progress into scarring. The second way is encouraging follicular regeneration and reactivating those dormant cells. And where is the science and what does it say around these two things? And what can I create to kind of deliver a system of support for Black women? So whilst you're going through the medical process, because I do encourage you do go and see a doctor if you're experiencing hair loss, there is something to support you to slow down the progression of that type of alopecia.
Mm.
And that's what we've created, So we've used clinically proven actives. We've gone through a consumer trial with a panel of 15 women who had different types of hair loss. I recently had another diagnosis for my CCA and scalp biopsy, and they've come back and they've said, whilst we see evidence of inflammation, we don't see any evidence of scarring. So now we're not sure whether you have this at all. So it's like, that's now been my central focus because I'm seeing so much crap online where people are promoting like shea butter and rosemary oil and castor oil and rice water and avocado mask by Cardi B and so much foolishness. I'm going to just say it, so much
Yeah.
foolishness, where there is not a lot of scientific data behind that. And what that creates is it taps into and feeds into the desperation of women who are losing their hair, something that I understand. You will try anything when you're losing your hair, and then it monetizes their desperation and profits off it. Where we're going as a brand, we want to say, look, first of all, let's get you a thorough diagnosis, right? We need to be looking at bloods. We need to get you to your GP or your medical provider. We need to do clear tests to understand what the root cause is of your hair loss. And whilst we're going through that process, here are products that can help to slow down and keep the health of the hairs the follicles that are viable, to keep them viable whilst we're understanding what's going on, and then looking at what the body needs from a nutritional perspective, like what are the key supplements that are responsible for that stem cell regeneration. How can we deliver those supplements to you in a way that's designed for hair, skin, and nails, that's meaningful, that isn't just a label, that is based on science and evidence. So that's what we're now looking at introducing to our community, and we'll be launching that in Q1 of next year.
Oh, I love that. That's like the intent, that you are creating behind your product. It has so much meaning. It's not just a product that you're just pushing out, because there are so many brands that are already created out here. And the only thing you have to do is just put your name on the label. Like, they're doing it and they don't know there's no research, no intention that is placed, from these, I don't know these hair suppliers, they're not putting any intent, any focus, any, real hardcore foundation to know exactly what that product is going to do for their consumers, and those are the brands that I absolutely hate, because you don't even know what your product is. You can't educate me on your product if you don't know what it is. If you just buying it from I don't know what it's called, but those companies that
retail ready.
Yeah, retail ready. That's what it is. When you're purchasing from a retail ready, you have no idea what the core of that foundation and that product is going to do for those potential consumers. So what are you exactly promoting? So listening to your story and all the intent and all the focus and all the education that you are learning in order to make sure you deliver that product for these consumers who have these similar experiences with you, or just need something to retain their hair care.
Yeah.
I am just through the roof. I am just so I'm just so proud to hear and listen and know that there are people in the business that still have a passion for hair care. And, not just from the monetary gain that they can, get from it,
Yeah. I mean, I have a passion for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
I have a deep desire to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that we get the best. And however I can contribute to that, I'm going to contribute to that, right? And
Absolutely.
there's been so we've just at the latter stages of our consumer trials, and all but one of those women have experienced significant growth during that process, which has lasted for 4 months. And the one person who didn't, what I told her at the beginning was, your hair loss is unfortunately at the stage where you've caused permanent damage. And I don't think that this is the right solution for you. And what we're willing to do is we're willing to get you your referral back to your dermatologist, which we did. We wrote to the doctors, got the referral to the dermatologist. We're looking at getting her some emotional support and counseling so she can
Oh,
focus
wow.
on acceptance. We're
Mm.
looking at making sure that she can have access to, units and wigs and ways that she can still wear her hair and feel beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it's getting her to accept that you've just left it too late. And I don't mind doing that. I don't mind saying to women, I don't want you to spend your money here because we're not the right solution for you. What we need to do
Mm.
is get you back to your healthcare provider so you can get the type of support you need. And it might be that you need a more aggressive, medicated approach to your
Yeah.
hair growth. And that's fine because we're not able to sell, drug type products, and you might need that.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and it's having that intention and that integrity for me, which is really important. So I make it very clear on who we can help and who we have to help in a different way. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you are focused on the integrity of your business as well, which is
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
absolutely.
the integrity
Yeah,
is important,
absolutely.
and that's
Yeah.
appreciated. And that also builds loyalty and trust. Even if they can't, become a consumer, they will be more than willing to spread the word,
Yeah.
because they know that they can trust, what you're saying and what you're pushing, because
Uh,
instead of you, quote unquote, misleading them and telling them, yeah, my product can do this. My product can, it's like, no, I
no.
can't help you
Yeah.
here, but here's an additional resource. And that is more
Exactly.
important than anything.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I've seen far too many brands showcase images of people who have clearly got scarring alopecia.
Mm-hmm.
And then, an after image that doesn't even look like the same person. And
Right.
it's really dishonest,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not about that as a company. We're integrity first. We're
Yes,
customer
for sure.
obsessed and we're integrity first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Walking away from a Dragon's Den deal was bold. We are really shifting the conversation
Girl.
now. Walking away from a Dragon's deal was bold. What lessons did you take from that experience, and how did Nyla react to seeing you on TV? How did she react to that, and how did you make such a bold decision?
So the reaction, she reacted well. She reacted better than me. I still have PTSD from watching that show.
Oh no.
I'm still like, oh Lord. And it's gone
Oh my
international
gosh.
as well. I'm like, Lord, you really need to get this crying thing over control. But
Uh-huh.
walking away from the offer at the time, I just had to. I didn't know. I had no idea whether or not I was making the right decision at the time. It was, as some people say, it was bold. At the time, it was very scary. It was a
Mm.
scary move. But what I knew that she didn't understand the value of what I was bringing to the table. Like that was clear. I felt undervalued and I felt disrespected in not necessarily just her offer, but her understanding of how important what I was doing was for the Black community.
Mhm.
And I felt that if I took her offer, I didn't see that I would grow the business in the way that I wanted to, right? I
Right.
felt that I would have been more stifled than really being able to accelerate our growth. And what I decided was that I would rather go it alone and not know what the outcome is and work damn hard to try and get there. And it
Mhm.
might not work out, but I'm prepared to do that as opposed to going into a deal where I felt that I wasn't appreciated, valued, and I would
Mhm.
be stifled.
Absolutely. And who would want, I wouldn't want to do business with people who did not understand where I was coming from emotionally because
Yeah,
how can I trust you to help me grow and elevate this product if
yeah,
you don't understand my reason why, you know?
exactly. And
Mhm.
not just only the emotion, because I really feel like she believed in me as an entrepreneur. What I felt that she didn't understand was the landscape of the business, and nor
Right.
was she, in my opinion, willing to take the time to understand that in a meaningful way. Um, and I didn't want that. So I walked away with my broad pocket
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
it worked out. It
It
worked out.
did. And I'm happy that you did not give in for something so short term. Because you could have easily given in based on your fear, even though you said it was in that moment, it didn't feel bold. You were scared. But fear in a way of giving in and also understanding that this is not the right fit.
Yes.
Being, tapped in to the awareness at the time to
Yeah.
know I could make this happen this way, but this is not the direction I see for my brand.
Yes.
Some people get desperate and they just give in, you
Girl, I
know?
was desperate. But I was
But you weren't
desperate.
desperate enough
But
to
didn't
make
give
a
in.
right, but not desperate enough to make such a decision that could not benefit you or,
Mm,
that your vision couldn't come into fruition the way that you envisioned it. You
yeah.
know, I don't know
Yeah.
if I could have been so bold. I think I would have been like, okay, who knows, But but maybe not because maybe understanding and knowing what I have for my brand, I probably wouldn't have either and would have
Yeah.
just, because I know there's additional resources out here as well. This is not the all in.
Girl, there's additional resources. And, at the time when I went into the den, I had gone into the den at the wrong time. And that's what one of the other dragons had said to me. He was like, "You are here at the wrong time."
Mm.
Um, and I see it now in hindsight. Had I had gone in just a year later, where I really started to implement our marketing strategy, it
Yeah.
would have been a completely different offer and a completely different experience. I really do believe that. Um, so it's, sometimes the revenue is what people look at to determine the viability of a company.
Yeah.
And at the time, our revenue didn't reflect the size of the opportunity in the market. But, a year later, we were a, deeply six-figure company, and that's just continued to grow and accelerate. So,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah. So getting into Boost and Superdrug was a massive milestone. What did that moment mean for you and your family?
I think for me, the moment became really real, for want of better words, when I walked into our local store and I seen the product on shelf. And that was an amazing moment, walking in. I took my daughter with me and, you know, I was like, look, and she looked in the shelf and she seen the product and that was incredible. That was
Hmm.
incredible. Yeah,
Wow.
moment.
Especially
Yeah.
growing up, seeing other people's products on the shelves, you're not thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have my own brand one day and it's gonna be on the shelf of of some store.
Yeah.
I bet that was such a surreal moment, you know.
It was. It
Hmm.
was.
What
Yeah.
emotions were you experiencing during that time?
Um, I think it was a sense of pride. I was very proud of
Mm-hmm.
our product and my efforts. I also felt motivated to keep going. Um, it felt like a key point in the journey of my entrepreneurial life cycle.
Yeah.
One that I will definitely remember. It was a core moment. Um, but you know, from a business perspective, that created other challenges to the business that I didn't foresee at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
rewarding. Like, oh, my hard work is paying
yes.
off, you know? Yeah. You take a science led approach to your products. How did you ensure Nyla's Naturals would deliver real effective results for textured hair?
So I think the first thing that we needed to do was find a cosmetic scientist that was passionate about their own, innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was really important to us. When we embarked on the journey of looking for a cosmetic scientist, because at first I think I started like a lot of people do. I was creating products at home, and I was like, "Nah, this ain't it." Right? So it was just
Mm-hmm.
like it really didn't have the performance that I wanted, and I wasn't willing to put that on the market. So we started going through cosmetic scientists, and I went through a lot, honestly, because what I was asking them to do at the time was so novice, right? I was literally rolled into these meetings with this long list of no's, like you can absolutely not use any of these raw materials that you are accustomed to using for products for Black women. And that was really challenging them to work in a different way because it was like, oh, we use this, this, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're not using that. So
Mm-hmm.
that was hard. And then
Mm-hmm.
it was also I knew what raw materials I wanted, so I started to go to like all of the cosmetic shows and all of the raw material shows like in cosmetics, etc., SCS in the UK. And I started to come across some fantastic, biomimetic, science-based, clinically evidence-backed raw materials. But one of the problems that I encountered was they were like, this cost £40 per kg and our minimum order quantity is 500 kg. I'm like, what? What?
Oh
I
my
can't. I'm a
goodness.
new brand. I'm completely self-funded. I do not have the means, the capacity to kind of make that investment. And then it became a negotiation. So I would have to negotiate with the raw material suppliers. I had to negotiate with cosmetic scientists. And it was like, yeah, I'm small. I have this little idea, but it has the potential for this. And these are the reasons why it's important. So really getting them to buy into that story and that narrative.
Right.
And I think in having those very open and honest conversations, I was able to get access to raw materials that I think products marketed to the community didn't have typically have access to, and also
Mm-hmm.
really encourage cosmetic scientists to think outside of the boat. And eventually we found a cosmetic scientist that was a trichologist that understood Afro-textured hair himself, and therefore the process of creating products became a lot more, I wouldn't say straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
but the process of innovation was more enjoyable because I had
Yeah.
a team that was ready to embark on that journey with me.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I'm so happy someone was willing to work. I've tried it before. Uh, trying to create my own natural hair products, and it was so
Yeah,
much pushback.
girl.
So much pushback, and like you said, the investment is very expensive.
Yes.
And the only problem I kept running into was they just didn't want to listen to what I wanted, what I
Yes.
envisioned. And I think I just gave up. Like
Yeah.
it got to a point where I was like, okay, I found the company, and then they wanted to be one of those retail ready companies. I'm like, that's not what we discussed. And
Right.
that's what
Yeah.
that's not what we initially agreed. And I just
Yeah.
stopped altogether. I was like, I'm tired. I'm glad you didn't give up.
It's not easy, and there were many times where I gave up. Like there were many times where I was like, no, I can't. But one of the things that I say to myself is, you only get one day. You only get one day to cry. You only get one day to sit in your emotions. I'll give you that one day because your emotions also need time um to be present, and they also need acknowledgement, right? They need
Right.
time to be acknowledged. Pushing them
Mm.
away, I think, isn't healthy. And then the next day, I'm like, okay, that's done. Let's crack on. And I got pushback. I got no's. I got, you know, pretty much underestimated,
Yeah.
undervalued, everything that you can think of in terms of a negative experience in trying to create something. I experienced it. But for me, it was like, okay, you're not my partner. It's one step closer to finding my partner.
That's
That
right.
now is one step closer to finding my yes. And that was the attitude that I had in
Mhm.
searching for not only a manufacturer, not only a cosmetic scientist, but a manufacturer who was
Yeah.
willing to work with me throughout all stages of our journey.
Yeah. I congratulate you and applaud you. And I love how you set these emotions on a time frame,
Yeah.
but also tapping in here and saying, not looking at this as a negative setback, but more of as a positive reinforcement. I'm getting closer because
Yeah.
now I have you out the way. I know that you can't create the vision. I am getting closer, to whoever these people are that's for me. I love that. You use that in everyday life, not just for this, but anything in life. And it's
Yeah.
such a good mind space to operate in. And that's why you are as successful as you are today because of the mindset. It always started in a mindset.
Mindset, I think, yeah, you know, mindset is so important
It
as
is.
an entrepreneur. But like literally in anything that you decide to put your attention to, any
Mm-hmm.
goal that you have, um, having a growth mindset is really, really important.
Really important.
And for me, one of the things that I tell myself is there are no mistakes, there are just lessons.
Yeah.
So even with, the whole walking away from the Dragon's Den thing, I was like, okay, this is going to be a lesson. There's going to be something in here that is going to contribute to the woman that you are becoming if you use that in the right way, right?
Yeah.
So every hurdle, every failure, it can be something that completely knocks you off your kilter and you don't get up from, or you can sit and say, okay, where is the lesson here and how
Right.
is that contributing to my growth? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think if used the right way, everything can contribute to your growth.
Absolutely. For sure. Mm-hmm. Love that. As a Black woman entrepreneur in the beauty industry, what challenges have you faced and how did you overcome them?
I think um, just being a Black woman who's an entrepreneur, never mind the beauty space, just being a female entrepreneur, and then let's put the Black on top of that.
Yeah.
It's challenging. Like we all know the stats around Black women getting the financial resources that they need to execute on their vision and their strategy, right? I think in the US it's 0.35% in terms of how much investment Black women receive, and in
Yes.
the UK it's 0.02% of investment goes to Black women, 0.02%. And the majority of that goes to Black women who are London based, and I'm in Birmingham, so the stats
Wow.
want to start breaking it down even more.
Mm.
It's near impossible. Um, and I think one of the biggest challenges that I had was navigating that financial space and really presenting the business and the opportunity to predominantly white male investors because we're in the UK, and
Yeah.
when we look at again stats predominantly, though that's the demographic of people who are investing.
Right. Mhm.
So it was, I think that was one of the most difficult periods, and it's still a difficult
Yeah.
period because we're constantly looking at fundraising activities. I've got big ambitions that requires a big budget.
Yes.
Um, but I managed to find an investor who was passionate about not only what I was doing, but passionate about evening the playing fields for women and for people of color. And my
Mm-hmm.
VC investors and my angel investors, they are passionate about ensuring that people who are capable of building businesses have the financial resources, whatever their demographic, and wherever they come from, and they have been amazing.
Yeah.
My lead angel investor, he was the former CEO of Revolution Beauty. It's a global company that
Oh,
turned over like
wow.
300 million. So, he's already got an understanding of the space and he's bringing that knowledge to us. So, I think to answer your question without elaborating too much, that was one of my challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
perhaps again one of the proudest moments to have overcome that challenge.
And I'm glad you share that because, as you said, it's still a challenge for most. And so, your information that you just shared will let another Black woman know you just haven't found your people. Just keep going.
Fantastic.
You just haven't found your person. Just keep going. And knowing that these are just little minor setbacks to help you get
Yeah,
there where you're
right.
supposed to be in that space
Yeah,
that you're supposed to be in. So I'm so happy you shared that because it's extremely relatable for any Black entrepreneur, any female Black entrepreneur out here, no matter what career you are trying to pursue. It's just extremely relatable across the board. It's a
yeah,
universal, relatable situation,
yeah.
Yeah. What myths or misconceptions about Afro and textured hair do you hope to dismantle through
Oh,
your
there's
hair
so many.
product?
Oh, Lord,
Through your product.
boil it
Yes.
down to a few.
Yeah.
Um, One of the um, things that I want to dismantle is the notion that Afro textured hair is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my opinion one of the most beautiful textures.
Mm-hmm.
I think every hair texture has its own beautiful characteristic, but the versatility of Afro textured hair and the way in which we as a community and culture have learned how to do these very intricate, um, you know, styling choices, but not only that, how we influence culture,
Right.
how we influence
Mm-hmm.
the people around us through our styling choices. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it is.
So I want to dismantle the notion that Black Afro textured hair is difficult and that it's undesirable. But I also want to dismantle some of the myths that exist in the textured hair space as it relates to hair care and hair growth. And I want to start replacing that understanding with hard facts and science. One of the things that I think really frustrate me is the notion that black hair can grow as long as any other hair type. And again, I'm really careful in how I say that
Mm-hmm.
because I think that it's it's rooted in a lot of misunderstanding. And there are examples, of course, of Black women who have achieved really, really, really beautifully long hair.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, the International Institute of Dermatology tested over 1,000 women, and our anagen phase is
It's
shorter than
short.
women of other racial ethnic groups. Like our
Mhm.
anagen phase is 4 to 5 years maximum. An Asian woman can be up to 10 years. A white woman can be up to 7 years.
7. Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we cannot expect to get the same type of length as a woman who
Mm.
is of Asian origin. And I think that understanding will lead to acceptance of where your terminal hair growth is and
Mhm.
how to kind of maximize the length retention, but be content with where your hair growth is. Like your anagen phase might only be 2 years
Yeah.
genetically. And it's
Mhm.
rooted in genetics, and
Yes.
there's not much you can do to change that. So, I think I get frustrated with seeing women who are constantly searching for this miracle growth product that's going to give them Rapunzel like hair when genetically we just don't have that capability. I think that's one of the myths that I'd like to bust. The second one, I suppose, is
And
rooted.
not to interrupt you, but let our listeners know what the anagen phase is so that they're clear.
Okay.
Let them know that. Yeah.
So the hair grows in cycles.
Mhm.
Everyone's hair grows in cycles, and there are three main cycles. Some people say four, but three main
Mhm.
cycles to the hair growth process. There's the anagen phase, and that is where the hair is actively growing. So
Mhm.
your hair follicle, your dermapapilla, is producing hair strands that's protruding through your scalp, and that's the anagen phase.
Mhm.
And that has a set point, a set amount of time, which is genetically predetermined. And then it moves into the next phase, which is the resting phase. Now, during that resting phase, I think it's called the telogen phase, that the hair just stops growing. It just stops and it rests. And that lasts for about 3 months. And
The
then it
catagen,
moves the
catagen.
catagen,
Yeah.
sorry, catagen
Mhm.
phase.
Yeah.
And that lasts for about 3 months. And
Mhm.
then it moves into the telogen phase
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
the hair sheds and is replaced by another strand that starts the growth process again.
Yes.
And
I just wanted them
that
to know that so they'd be like, what is she talking about? Anagen
what is
phase,
she?
you
Yeah.
know?
But that is very much influenced by several factors. It's influenced by hormones, it's influenced by
Mhm.
diet, nutrition, it's influenced by stress.
Yes. Yeah.
But the foundation of that influence is, your genetics. And just like the texture of your hair is very much influenced by genetics, so is the length of your anagen phase.
Absolutely. I'm glad you put that out there. It's really
So it
hard
just
to convince.
frustrates me because it's hard to
It's
convince
hard to
women
convince.
otherwise. And
Mhm.
this is just biology, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I say to women is if our hair just grew and grew and grew and didn't have a cycle, like, our intimate region would be, and
Yeah.
we'd have eyelashes that were constantly growing that we'd have to snip. And,
That's
it
right.
happens in cycles. So just learn yours, appreciate yours, and focus on maximizing your length retention activities so you can get the best out of your anagen phase. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that information. So much education that needs to be spread and not just like you said, how did you refer to it? It's crap. It's a lot of crap out here, And it's very important that people are learning from people who actually studied the biology of how hair works. You know, I- I- it's YouTube. I'm telling you, it's YouTube.
And I love Cardi B. I love her to death,
Oh,
but
but she
that
is
hair
so
mask,
misleading. I'm
that
like,
hair mask. No,
I-
ladies, I'm
and
sorry.
I'm like, you
No.
don't even need the hair mask, Cardi, because of your genetics. Like, let's be honest.
Let's be real. And like, I know she shared the picture when she was young and she had the little fro and stuff, but all that signaled to me was that when you was young, your caregivers was a maximizing length retention,
That's
right? So
it.
you never got to see how long your hair could grow. You were introducing practices that was causing breakage, and you just never got to see the full viability of the strand.
That's it.
Now you're focusing on length retention activities, you're able to see that genetically you are capable of growing hair down here. That doesn't happen for all of us.
No.
And I think until somebody creates a product that is able to lock the hair in the anagen phase for all of eternity, we are going to be influenced by our
Yes.
genetics
And
in
that's
terms
what
of
I
how long our hair can grow.
And that's what I meant by celebrities when I mentioned, whenever celebrities, they love
Yeah.
to dabble over here into our world
Yeah.
because it's a multi-billionaire,
Yeah. Exactly.
industry,
I
and
mean,
they mislead consumers because they, being that there are celebrities, people are going to listen to them just from
they
that.
are.
They listen to
They
them more than the
are.
people that study it. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, and then what I'm experiencing behind the chair is I tried this and I tried that and it didn't work. And then I have to go in and like re-educate and let them know this that's a whole
Girl. But you know what was interesting for me watching the pushback that Rihanna got when she launched Fenty Hair. Now, I cannot speak on her products and I won't. But what I saw on social media was a lot of people saying, we can't trust your products because your hair isn't long and your natural hair isn't this and your natural hair isn't something that we would consider as
I didn't even know that
aspirational.
was going on,
And
so I'm learning.
girl, girl. And I think for me, that kind of it underpinned the lack of understanding that we have as a community. You can create a product that's viable, that's effective. I can't speak on her products, but what I will say that is the length of somebody's hair doesn't determine the quality of their products
At
that they
all.
put out there
At all.
at
There was
all.
a time I was wearing my hair short intentionally. I was going to the hair salon and getting it cut into a bob, into a pixie intentionally. My hair was growing with no issues.
Mm.
So you cannot take that and make it the all in and say this
Yeah,
is not going to work for anyone across the board because your hair isn't,
yeah,
long and it's not,
yeah,
it doesn't look in the ideal way that people imagine it to be.
yeah.
That's not
And
real.
similarly, you can't take someone who has got beautifully long hair and say that their product is going to do that for you.
Abs- Like Cardi B, back to Cardi B. And I, I'm really hoping we can get on board one day, cohesively and be more intent with, knowing, this is all stemmed from biology. It's all
Mm.
stemmed from biology. And
Yeah,
once you understand and connect there,
yeah,
then the foundation is set. And now you
yeah.
can grow from
You
there.
can build on that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's the foundation, the core foundation is biology.
Yeah.
Next, we're looking at well-being, we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at what are the factors that contribute to the hair
Mm-hmm.
growth practice, and am I at an optimum peak for wellness? Because the body is very intelligent, and this is what I say to people all the time. Your body is one of the most intelligent machines.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're deficient in, let's say, iron or, vitamin D or any of the essential nutrients that are required for the hair growth process, then it ain't going to grow your hair. Like, you want to live, but your body sees hair as a non-essential tissue. So it will allocate all of those vitamins to the essential tissues, such as your heart, liver, lungs, eyes,
Right.
skin, before it starts to prioritize and look at, okay, what are the needs of your hair? And then when you're deficient in those essential nutrients, it takes time to get to an optimum storage level in your body where your system will be like, now I'm comfortable enough to start allocating some of these vitamins to the follicles and the hair growth process. So it's not just about putting on a cream or this shampoo or this conditioner. It's also about what is going on inside of my body that's going to contribute to my overall well-being, because
Mm-hmm.
essentially beauty is wellness, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the narrative and the conversation that we need to start having. Like, we've focused so much on external beauty factors that
Yeah.
we haven't taken into consideration that actually, once you're well from the inside, that starts to play out in how you look and you feel, including
Yes.
your hair,
For sure. Absolutely. If you could look 10 years into the future, what do you hope Nyla says about your journey and this brand?
um that gets me excited. um
Yeah, for sure.
Bad girl cam. um 10 years from now, I want a brand, like I said before, which is all about bridging the gap between wellness and cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
I really see our conversation and our importance being about, how can we really maximize wellness opportunities and products and services for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
We are introducing blood testing soon to our
Mm-hmm.
community because we understand that's something that isn't readily available from the GP service.
Right.
We're looking at supplements. We will expand in terms of having that elasticity. We're going to start looking at skincare. We want to start looking at intimate wellness. We want to start
Mm-hmm.
looking at nutrition and introducing a more comprehensive range of supplements. But all of that is rooted in what are the needs of my community, and my community, my tribe is Black women. What are the needs of my community, and how can we as a brand help to meet
Yes.
those needs? So what I want us to be that wellness hub, that credible resource of information that Black women know.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to Nyla's, I'm getting truth, honesty, well-researched product, well-researched information, and I can trust in this brand. And that is our goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love
You
that.
know, internationalization is also,
Yeah, for
something that
sure.
we'll be doing. So Texas, we've got our eyes on Texas.
Yes, for
So
sure. I'm
we
definitely going to be
want to start
promoting
into.
to my
Thank you.
subscribers in my email and pushing out the word. And my people, they trust me. They love me.
There you
Because
go.
they know I operate from integrity, and I will not ever mislead them with, information that could not truly and genuinely help them.
Yeah,
So,
I
yep.
love that.
And I have a demographic in Virginia, in Hawaii, in Louisiana, because we're military, so we travel a lot.
Oh,
So,
wow,
yeah, so
okay.
that's a good thing too for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. This is going to be the last question because we have to wrap up. I hate it because I'm enjoying the conversation so much. I'm about to do a part two. Um, what's what's Nyla's favorite product from from the
My
brand?
daughter.
Yeah, and then what three words would she use to describe you?
Ooh. Um, what is her favorite product? She likes the serum.
Okay.
Uses the serum, which is the Flourish hair serum. So she uses that regularly, and she's got, very dense hair. Her hair's very thick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the spray.
The spray.
I would
Okay.
say the maximum moisture hairspray. Those are the two she uses daily, and she uses those daily because she wears a lot of protective styles, braids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two products that are really good for keeping her hair in optimum condition while she's in braids.
Okay.
Um, what would Nyla say about me?
3 words. 3 words.
3 words. Um, I think she would say that I am committed, driven, and she's called me inspirational. And
Oh,
that's
that's
just
so
like,
beautiful
mama,
coming from your daughter.
oh, ooh,
Because I feel it's so important for you to be the direct inspiration. There's inspiration everywhere, but for you to be the
yeah,
direct inspiration, it just reassures you that you're doing a great job.
yeah. She's
You
called
know?
me inspiration. She said, I'm so proud of you, mommy. And oh, girl, don't get me started.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, that's
that,
beautiful.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I, yeah, I
Great.
can't even, I can't even articulate that
Yeah.
feeling.
I think that's enough. It's really hard for the parents to be the direct inspiration sometimes, depending on how you grew up. So I think that is more than enough to be a direct inspiration from your daughter. When there's so many other influences out here that could be influencing her, and you are her direct person that
Yeah.
she can really look up to genuinely. And it's her mom of all people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Hmm.
just, I know we need to wrap up, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I told myself when I embarked on my parenting journey was that I wanted to raise children to have a childhood they didn't have to heal from.
Mm.
I had to heal from my childhood,
And
and I
reparent yourself.
reparent myself in that
Mm-hmm.
process,
Yep.
and have compassion for my caregivers and my mom, understanding that she did her version of what was best.
Yeah.
But for me and how I raise my daughter and my son, it's proactively making sure you don't have to heal from this experience of your childhood.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so
I love that so
that's how I think
much.
our bond is formed.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Same here. Yeah. It's so beautiful. I appreciate you also sharing that information as well because it needs to be heard. Some people are not aware, and that they are healing from their childhood. And some people don't know that they need to focus also on making sure their children don't have to heal from their childhood, and that knowing I can go home and it's a safe space. I can trust it here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
I can be me here. I'm safe here.
Yeah,
You know?
it's important. The world
Yeah.
is already unsafe enough. They need to go there and feel safe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to your journey, your story. I'm inspired. I love leaving inspired. I'm extremely inspired. I can't wait to go purchase my own hair products now. My daughter has locks, so when you mentioned about the spray and the serum, I'm like, I'm definitely going to make sure she get that. And please let our listeners know how they can find you and stay connected with you, and so that they can follow you along your journey.
Awesome. So our website is nylasnaturals.com. You can read up about my story there, purchase our products, see what we're up to as a brand. Also our social media, we're very active on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And it's at Nyla_UK, and you can find us there.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
What an incredible conversation. Kameese Davis has shown us the power of turning love, science, and passion into a purpose-driven brand. From creating Nyla's Naturals for her daughter to empowering textured hair communities worldwide, her story is a true testament to perseverance and vision. If today's episode touched your heart or inspired you, make sure to check out Nyla's Naturals and follow Kameese's journey on social media. And if you're listening right now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of Hear What I'm Saying. Thank you as always for tuning in. Keep shining, keep thriving, and I'll catch you next time.